All right. Fantastic. Looks like I am live. Hello, Claire. Hello, Pixel Lingo Multimedia. Jacob, what's up? Marty Movie Maker. What's up, guys? Paul Trani here, coming at you from Denver, Colorado. Curious where you guys are from. Always curious as to hearing where you guys are from. Before I get started, hola, Alvaro. For the next 3 days, actually on YouTube, in fact, more specifically, if you go to adobelive.com, there is going to be 3 days of live streaming about Premiere Pro. So check that out. That would be awesome. So, hello, Connecticut. Good to see you. Salt Lake City in the house. Glastonbury, England. I have a friend who just arrived in London on Sunday, yesterday. Sweden, Bolivia in the house. I love how you typed that in there, all caps with spaces. Andres, what's up, guys? So Poland's in the house. Been checking out some awesome Polish illustrators lately. Vancouver, awesome. Karen. So just so you guys know, Chicago, good to see you, John. Saudi Arabia. So basically, I'm gonna be tackling 30 Illustrator tips in 30 minutes. Okay, does that sound good to you, Peter? From Denmark, Portugal. Tony Contreras from Denver, Colorado as well. Very cool. All right, Romania's not sleeping. Oh, I think it's time to get this party started, guys. How you guys feeling? Houston, Texas. I was just in Austin, Texas last week for South by Southwest. Say somebody else from Denver. Cool, guys. Well, I will do my best to keep track of the chat. Let's just pop out this chat, and I'll do my best to keep track of it. But Colombia, my favorite country. Absolutely love it. But I might not be able to, so I'm just going to do my best. So we're going to get this party started. If that works for you. Anna A., good to see you. Steven, oh, from Denver? You're like the third person from Denver. Kathleen from San Diego. Well, cool. Good to see everyone. I'm going to get this party started because there's a lot I need to cover. Again, 30 tips in 30 minutes. I might be kind of all over the map. I always like to follow things in a sort of a project format. So I'm like, I want it to make cohesive sense and not bounce around a lot. But I want to hit everything. So I am just starting. Johnny, going to get started right now. I'll do my best to keep track of the chat. So let's just switch over. You can see my screen and my little head now. Let's get started. Started right now. Okay. Tip number 1. If you have Illustrator CC, you have templates available to you just from the start menu. Check those out. Again, they're all free. Download them. Love them. And I'm doing this because it's the Illustrator's 30th anniversary. Also notice if you go into general, you can say, hey, you know what? Let's not use that. Use legacy file new interface. Another thing you want to do is check out scale, stroke, and effects. Okay, you want to turn those on and scale corners. Okay, so when you size things up and down, the lines don't get all crazy, thick, and weird. But take a look at scaling, strokes, and effects with your artwork. Click OK. You're done. Let's get started now. Okay, and actually that was technically 3 tips right there. So I'm going to try to keep this tally updated. Let's see how good I'm at that. Here's tip number 4. Okay, so let's take a look at this. When it comes to drawing and when it comes to most of these tools, you have the options when you click on the tool itself. So I'm going to double click on the pencil tool options and you can see them all here. Okay, so maybe by default, since I'm going to draw out her hair, I'll try to be kind of smooth, but you can see I'm doing a horrible job at giving her long, flowy hair, okay? So instead what I want to do is I want to change this. So double click, change this to smooth, okay? Clicking OK. Let's thicken up that stroke. Again, these are pencil tool options since it's been rebuilt, and you can see long, flowy, gorgeous hair. Another tip, see how I screwed up on this line? All I need to do is draw on top of that line and it will replace it. You're welcome. That's tip number 5 and 6 right there for you. Okay, and that is really cool. So from there I can select all of these strokes, by the way, because I don't want to give her Medusa hair. And I can change just the formatting or the width just like that. Or I can control it using, luckily, the width tool right over here. So the width tool will allow me to make it thin on the ends if I want to, but it gives me that sort of control. And even on this end, if I want to make it extra thick, I can expand it out as well. Okay, so you guys kind of get the idea for making this thick and thin as I'm doing right now. You guys get it. Cool. All right, she has crazy Medusa hair. That's okay, just using the width tool, which happens to be probably my favorite tool. Excuse me. But let's not forget about the options that you have when you're drawing. Now, keep in mind, since I'm taking a look at this, with the pencil tool selected, in fact, if I double click on it, the option key will toggle to the smooth tool, okay? That's one thing that will happen. So I can say, even while I'm drawing, even on her or something else, I can hold on the option key, that toggles to the smooth tool, so I can start to smooth out these lines as I'm drawing. So no need to switch tools, okay? Another thing I can do, again, still with the pencil tool still selected, by the way. And actually, no, let's just select a line segment. Rather than manipulating these Bezier points, what I can do is I can hold down, if I don't even have to hold down anything. If I roll over that line, I'm giving the path, the curvature tool. So I can just adjust those curves rather than those Bezier points just by rolling over it. So again, just select it and you can adjust just by rolling over it anytime you see that arrow. Okay, so that's, again, I guess, yeah, at least tip number 9. So let's go tip 8. Moving on down the line, right? So we're drawing, we're creating stuff. It's easy manipulation of Bezier points. I need to work on her hair some more. She doesn't have to bear with me. It's kind of bad. But notice how I've drawn a couple more times. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I want to actually draw more. I want to modify all of these lines. Oops, I keep on screwing up the end. I want to modify each one of these lines, which happens to be her hair, but not the other lines. How do I select all of them? Well, with that selected, you guys should know this, so file this under the things you should know. You want me to turn down the music a little bit? Turning it down. There we go. Turned it down. Is it chill enough? Maybe I will just kind of... Let's just turn it off, huh? Done and done. So let me go to select the same stroke color. That will select all of those lines with the same stroke color, right? Obviously. So selecting this, go into select, same stroke color. What about stroke weight? I can select the same stroke weight. And from there, that's when I can increase its size and maybe change its uniformness to get what I want, okay? And notice that I can even select this width and say, hey, you know, I can turn this into add to profiles and add that width profile to it, right? So you guys get the idea sort of as far as modifying lines and that sort of thing, okay? So she kind of has crazy Medusa hair. That's okay. As I'm working on this, and this pertains to artwork that you might be given, but if I go to view, I want to show you the transparency grids. If you want to work in a transparency fashion, you can. Because, oh, what did I notice? Oh, there happens to be white content here. So that's one way, easy way to tell what is white and what is not. And regardless of what the font is right here, so what if it's something else? And let's just, you know, change the color so you could see it. Okay, so view transparency grid will allow me to help me find things that are white. But check this out. If I want to match that font, the Annie font, the Annie text needs to be the same font as Rose and the same color. And again, regardless of the size, I can use the eyedropper tool, not just for colors, but also for text. As I click bink, it goes and it takes those properties of that whatever text element that I have selected. Okay, so from there, what I can do, since I'm talking about text, let me hide that transparency grid. Since I'm talking about text, let's jump in here and I want to show you the touch type tool. Okay, so selecting the touch type tool, what will this allow me to do? But to manipulate each one of these characters individually, right? So I can move this down. I can maybe move this E down, and then what about rotating it, okay? So the touch type tool isn't necessarily just for text, or if you're using a touch device, it's pretty much for anything. Let's kind of do something like that. You guys kind of get the idea as I kind of move that down. What else can we do with this text? Again, I'm just kind of having some fun here, but what else do you get as I'm noticing, as I select this text, as I select this O, you actually have right down here, oops, sorry, you get alternate glyphs. So you see that right down there at the bottom? I can change this. I can add that curl to that top of the O. This is an alternate glyph for the O. Click. Oh, there it is. Thank you very much. The E, just extend that down. The I, selecting this I up here. I'm not saying I modified this very well, but I did. You know, and there's another curve, for instance, or not. You guys kind of get the idea as I start to move this stuff around. Cool? So that's text and the touch type tool. That brings us to about 11. Touch type tool, again, I just kind of want to move that over there. So Annie Rose might be not happy with me because I did not do a good job with her name, but just showing you the flexibility that you have when it comes to drawing. So let's move on. Let's move on to something else. All right, you got this? You ready for this, Anna? Here's another thing that you may or may not be aware of, strokes. Okay, so we're always creating strokes, and you're like, okay, how do I make a dashed line? Okay, well, that's going to happen in your stroke panel. So I'll pull that out, and keep in mind you want to actually show options. So select show options, and you can say, hey, make this a dashed line. Okay, but one thing happens here is when when you switch to this dashed line, the corners get all funky. Well, right here it says, hey, you know what? For this dash line, you best just fix it. So let me just select this. Just fix that dashed line. Good Lord. Click right there. There we go. Okay, let's fix it by aligning the corners. Boop. And now it's aligned the corners, right? So that's what I want to do in order to make dash lines. You could take it a step further. What about dotted lines? Well, let's cap it. Bop, bop. We can make those caps 12, 11, 10. You know, you guys get the idea. Something like that, and make this thinner. 8. 8. 8. So I don't even need to worry about the second one. Something like that. But I basically made a dashed line by rounding the caps. That's what I'm doing there. Okay, so let me go beyond that, because I'm going to create something really cool that I hope you like. I absolutely love this little feature. So this is like a pro tip for artwork, okay? So I'm going to eliminate those. I'm going to take this little guy right here and say, hey, you know what? For you, I want to make something really cool, right? I actually want to make a cool like Vortex thing. I want to create a Starburst, basically. Because as any designer knows, you'll hear a client say, hey, can you put a burst around it? Can you make it sparkle? So let's make our design sparkle. All right, dash line, selecting that. We're going to crank this weight of this line up to about 100 point. Boom, there it is. Cranked it up, 100 point. You could see, again, the align stroke is actually only going in, so it's only going on the inside, but you could see how I've made an awesome little vortex really easily. I could align it to the center and it will go out. You guys get the idea. I can just hold that down, but that's an easy way to make just a cool... saludos from Paraguay. Nice to have you here, Creativa Studio. So again, really cool that I can do this, and I have that sort of flexibility to, you know, make whatever I want from there. Maybe just clipping mask. Oh, I have more than one thing selected. And the hardest thing to do is be able to select that circle. Bop, bop. Like that. Okay, so now you guys get the idea about what you can do in terms of like making a cool little starburst without giving you a headache. Okay, cool. There's my final version. Made this earlier. You guys get the idea. Just for fun. There's some other things going on there, but we won't sweat it. All right. So let's move on. Starburst. Boom. Let's draw out some more things just for fun, right? So we've... Oh, let's actually do a couple more things since I've been sort of drawing out objects and different things. Let me show you what else you can do. Not only double-clicking on, say, the pencil tool, but double-clicking on any one of these will give you something. So, but let me just point out that when you actually just have a tool selected and you click once, you can give it specific parameters. But what I want to do is I want to select the Polygon tool, and then when I click once on the in my document, I can change it from 5 sides to 3 sides to nothing less than 3, right? But there's my triangle. So just because you see this polygon shape doesn't mean it can't be a triangle, because it will allow me to change the sides. Here's 40 sides to that right now. Okay, let's go beyond that. The star tool. Click once, bup, right? Give me as many points as you want, right? But what happens with this star is this star looks kind of funny, right? It is a chubby star, right? Yeah, this is a really sedentary star. Doesn't get out a lot. Doesn't get a lot of exercise. And quite frankly, I want a classic star. So if I hold down the Alt key or Option key and do a click and drag, there's the true star hidden for you. Sure enough, that's actually usually what I want more than anything, right? So pretty cool. Let's take it beyond that, guys. Check this out. I'm gonna do something super trippy. You ready for this? You ready for super trippiness? Let me set this up a little bit. Let's create a dazzling. Wait for it. Just create something spectacular first. Something glorious. All right, sure, that works. So what I want to do now is, check this out, guys. Since we're talking about creating items, check this out. I could do a couple things as I start drawing out my star. Okay, so here's my true star, if you will. There's my true star. And I can start to duplicate it. So I can click and drag by holding down the Option and Shift key. I can constrain and then duplicate, okay? But now if I want to do that lots of times for the American flag, since I'm American or whatever, Command D, that's how I can duplicate all of those. So you can see I can end up with as many of these that I want. So anytime I select multiple objects and hold the Shift and Option, boom, and then Command D, you know, there are all your stars that you need. Super easy to do. Remember, just creating once and then dragging. But I'm going to go beyond that now, guys. Check this out. I'm going to hold down the tilde key. Okay, holding down the tilde key is going to give me duplicates of the shape that I have. So you ready for this? Holding down the tilde key as I click and drag with my star. What? That was spectacular. Look at that. I'll do that again, right? So again, just holding down the tilde key, which is the little squiggly line, click and drag, and now I have a bunch of coolness, right? So you can do this with any shape that you have selected. Obviously, you can make some pretty cool things. Man, I got plenty of tricks. So let's move on from there. I actually might revisit this because I really like this. I think this is like way cool, right? Because this gets into that style that, you know, we might have seen a lot of, which is this sort of... so just to answer your question real quick, Peter, the touch type tool works with any font that you have, okay? So it doesn't have to be typekit. Same thing with glyphs. Glyphs, if there's alternate glyphs for that specific character, that's when you get those glyph options. All right, so let's kind of move on from there, because I'm thinking, okay, I want to create something cool and spacey, right? I'm thinking, okay, let me just hide that. I'm going to draw some lines. Remember, I got my cool line here. Let's go draw a cool line. I think we can be cooler than that. Let's go like that. Give it some range, right? Just drawing some lines. Let's do a loop. Loop, whoop. Drawing some different shapes. So now I have about 4 lines. Let's reverse that. I want this loop to be down here and then go up like that. So here's all these lines. I think they're pretty cool, but this is what I want to show you is using the blend tool, which is your best friend. Okay, so the blend tool, if you guys aren't familiar with it, it's been around. You guys know how long the blend tool's been around? It's been around since Illustrator 88, since 1988. But this is what it does, is it allows you to take sort of a shape like this star, and then another shape that might be a different color entirely. A different color entirely, and blend those two together. Okay, just using the blend tool. Let's go click, click. You get the idea, right? So that is the blend tool. Okay, pretty cool. I can double click on it. I can jump in and still manipulate this curve and all that good stuff thanks to the blend tool, because you'll actually have this path right in there. So as I roll over it, let's bend out this path. Right, you guys get the idea. That's what the blend tool does, which is really cool. Okay, I want to go beyond that though, because you guys have probably seen this already. Okay, so let's do that for multiple lines, and that's the fun parts. Okay, let's take that blend tool. Let's go boom, a boom, a boom, and boom. Selecting all of those. And notice how it didn't do very many steps. So if I go in and take a look at the specified steps, it only did 1. Let's up that to 20. Okay, hit tab, boom. Now we get that cool sort of Nautilus type wireframe look. Okay, so that's what I want. I can bump it up to 40 just to see how that will look. That's pretty cool as well. Let's go with it, clicking OK. And now we got something like pretty awesome that you have probably seen around. Okay, so really cool. From there, I can still have some more fun with it. I could expand it, right? So let's expand those strokes. Let's make sure that these are individual strokes. Yep. So with all those selected for those strokes, I can give it a different swatch. Okay, so in this, I can give them a different color. In this case, I want to go with a gradient. And now we have like a cool gradient look. Okay, that's all I did. Yeah, you guys can ask all you want. I'm just not really looking at the chat. I'm just saying hi to Johnny because he lives in Colombia and I love Colombia. All right, so super cool what you could do there. There's more I can do. I wanted to point out swatches though as well, and point out that the fact that not only behind these tools are there extra little things, but also behind the swatches and other tools. Let's bring in a little Beethoven. Getting tired of hearing myself talk here. Okay, so swatches, clicking right here, this flyout menu, we can open up additional swatch libraries. Okay, so rather than picking your own colors and creating your own gradients that you only have to recreate and all that fun stuff, you can just go into the swatch library and I'll just go into gradients. And this is where I'll get a lot of cool, say, color combinations. So opening that up, you can see all these color combinations that I can then apply to this. I can say, hey, what does this look like? Right? Not bad. What about this one? Right? All these different color combinations that I can go through rather than manipulating them and making them all myself. Obviously, this makes life really easy. Cool, guys? And this is where I spend the next half hour is trying to pick the right one. Right? But I'm pointing this out. Again, this brings us to about, 20, tip number 20. I'm not keeping an exact track, but I do have a long list, so I am actually following along. But that goes for anything. So let me go into my symbols, for instance. For symbols, even if I expand that out, open symbol library. There's a bunch of stuff in here. This Grime vector pack is pretty popular, right? So I can grab, if I need just a cool splat, for instance, you have your cool splat right there. Okay, keep in mind this is a symbol. Might want to break link to that symbol, but you can change the color of it as expected. Cool. So extra little items hidden in these little flyout menus, and that's why I'm glad you guys are here to kind of take note of these. But let's move on because I have more stuff to talk about, right? Let's get into distorting elements as well, right? So this is really cool. Weird word. Have this word mouse. Doesn't really matter. Oh, from Australia. Awesome, Brad. Welcome, buddy. I wonder how late it is there. Toronto. I'm going to be in Toronto in a couple weeks. I love... I'll be in Toronto for FITC here in about 6 weeks or so. Mouse. Selecting this word. We can distort this because I'm like, okay, well, let's distort by going down to envelope distort. I can make with warp or I can make it with a mesh. You guys may be aware of this already, right? So I'll just use this two rows, 2 columns mesh. Let's change this so you can actually see what's happening. There we are, right? So those lines I can now manipulate. Those are Bezier points that allow me to change that line. Click. Let's make that big. Let's bring this down like this. Like, make it the shape of a mouse is what I'd want to do in this case, right? And we could do that. The great thing is I could edit this text as well. So double-clicking on it, going in here, I want this to say mice. There it is, mice. Micey. You guys get it, right? This is what I want to show you. That's easy enough. You guys get that part. That's easy enough, right? You get it. This is what I like. Taking 2 shapes. You're saying, hey, you know what? I have this word mouse, and then I have the shape of this mouse, right? Well, I can select both of those and say, hey, you know what? Go ahead and make an envelope distort with the top object. Bop! And there you have the top object. Boom, there's the mouse. Let's move on. That brings us to 22. I'm running out of time though. Remember, I spent probably 5 minutes at the top of the hour kind of warming up and chatting with you guys. Let's go beyond this, guys. Check this out. I'm gonna do this now. Taking this photo. All right, another tip is when you have items that are larger than your artboard, you can select your artboard tool and say, hey, you know what? Fit it to your artboard bounds. Boom. Now the artboard bounds are as big as whatever artwork you have. I'm going to take this and I'm going to say, hey, you know what? Let's create an object mosaic. So let's create a bunch of little squares out of this photo. Clicking object mosaic. Let's leave it at 20. Clicking OK. We just pixelated him or created an object mosaic out of him, which works out pretty well. And notice how that picture is still back there. But that's what we've done, and we can start to sort of like eliminate each one of these, ungroup them, and you know, work with these individual shapes, which is awesome. Maybe I'll just kind of reveal his eyes. Another thing I want to do with this real fast is selecting all this, and for any object, I can go into the opacity and change the layer mode. I'll change it to overlay, pop, and now we have that cool overlay look. Again, that's 2 more tips to bring us to 24. Again, object mosaic. By the way, once I do this, for any one of these shapes, I can go into Effect, go into Pucker and Bloat, and I can do sort of like a pucker and bloat to each one of these shapes. See, I'm making it a different shape. Again, since I have pucker and bloat selected, that's what I can do, and I get something more unique. Let's move on. Let's talk about when you need to recolor artwork. Like I want to make some flowers, and technically these are individual shapes, okay? But how do what if I want to make this inside yellow? Well, you can using live paint. So I'm selecting a live paint bucket. Oops, sorry. I'm selecting, yeah, that's what I want. The live paint bucket. And let me open up my swatches panel. And these are my colors. So watch, I can start to jump in here and I can say, hey, you know what? Let's make that yellow. Okay, merge live paint. If you want to merge the paths to the live paint group, click the merge live paint button on the control panel. Or select merge. Okay, well, regardless, let's not show that again. That's what I'm doing, and this is what live paint does. It doesn't matter what group it belongs to, it will color it accordingly. I could use my arrow keys to select different colors, and now I have that pink showing. You guys get the idea. And you can even color strokes. Cool. All right, guys. I have about 2 more minutes. That's another tip. I'm counting the live paint. And how did I get to this point, by the way? I've used scripts. So I encourage you to check out scripts. If I go to edit, or excuse me, go to file, scripts, I've used Flurify, okay? And this is just a script somebody wrote. I want to fleur it by 100%, sure, click OK, and it gives me that diamond shape, okay? So that's a script. I encourage you to download all the scripts that you can. Another one that I'm going to use as I move these swatches over, 27. Taking all these characters, saying, hey, you know what? For all these characters, I'm going to select multiple colors by holding down the command key. Pop, 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 pop. Different colors, file. And this is why I use scripts, is for this a lot of this random stuff. So I want to do a random swatches fill. I've selected 6 different colors, random swatches fill. Oh, it would give me a little error, but yeah, it still worked. Boop. It missed some, but overall it colorized everything. Fantastic. I can go on and on about scripts. Lastly, that is 28. Getting into recoloring artwork. If I select this, going into my Recolor Artwork, notice how you can change colors, map one color to another. And that's what Recolor Artwork does. Gives you different options and keeps them the same, within the same, it keeps them constrained so it doesn't screw them all up too much. So you guys get the idea. As I start to make this look really ugly, usually I do a better job, but that's not bad. Recolor Artwork when you want different looks. Lastly, that was 29. Lastly, for 30, what I'm going to do is output all of these graphics, in which case I would use the Asset Export panel. Dragging this right over here, and I can call this Logo 1, for instance. Okay, grabbing this one here, dragging it in, Logo 2. Right, and then from there I can output as many different sizes and all that fun stuff that I want. Just selecting those 2, click Export. It will output those different versions at those different sizes all to my desktop. Easy peasy, as they say. And the great thing is I can continue to work. So if I change this color, it's going to change it up here, and then I can just export it out again. You guys get the idea. All right, you guys get the idea. Kind of brought the music back. I don't know if that was a good idea, but I'm done with my time. I've hit 30. Let me switch over to my all of my. Oh, you know what? There's even some things I missed, but that's okay. I went through 30, but I'm gonna do. I'll show you one more thing just as I leave you guys. So this is definitely bonus, but I wanted to leave you with something cool if I could, and that is a little 3D action. And all I'll do is turn this on just to give you guys an idea of what is possible. And 3D Vortex. It is being recorded, that's why I did it on YouTube. Let me open this up, guys. This is the bonus one, so going beyond that, you can see right in here, what I've done is I've created this certain pattern, okay, just by, you know, duplicating this out like I showed earlier. I created a pattern. I said, hey, you know what? Let's take a line and extrude it, and then give it a texture. So that's what I do in this case, is sort of use the pencil tool and draw out a line and then make it 3D. So I'll do a revolve around the right edge, and I will preview it. And all of a sudden I've made this like vortex thing, okay? From there, what you can do is you can start to map art to those surfaces. So that's what I do, is map it to that checker surface, just like that. Scale to fit, click OK, and there you have, showing you that you can map illustrations to 3D objects to basically hypnotize you. I feel like, you know, I'm Alice sort of going down the rabbit hole at this point, But you guys get the idea, and now you guys are all under my spell because I have this graphic that's gonna probably make your brain hurt if it doesn't already. But asset export's brand new. That's why, Luis. That's why it's that's why maybe you haven't seen it yet. You guys get the idea. You can get those scripts from anywhere. Just do a search. I use Vector. Let me actually see Vector. Where is it? Vector Boom. Yeah, so that's what I've used. I've used Vector Boom to get those scripts. But if you do any search, it might end up pointing you to this site, and that's where you get random scripts, and you'll see all of them come up. So random order, random resize, could use that, all that fun stuff. You guys get the idea. Brad, thanks, man. Thanks for you guys joining me from all over the world. Yeah, thank you for joining me from all over. Evil, C-R-I-S-E, Charisse, Marty, Anna. Don't forget about the fun little event going on. Thanks, guys, and we will see you next time. Appreciate you, and tune in tomorrow for that fun live event on Adobe Live. Thanks so much.